For those who grew up in the 90s, they probably remember a hit classic by the Bodines, Closer to Free. And one of the lines from that song was, "Everybody wants to live how they want to live, and everybody wants to love like they want to love, and everybody wants to be closer to free." It's a great song with a great upbeat jam, but this song, I think, also shows a little bit of that rather recent understanding of what liberty has meant to us. No longer is it about excellence, but it's devolved into an indifference, to an "I'm okay, you're okay" kind of therapeutic mentality. It's not to say I'm opposed to letting people live their lives, but it is to say that there is more to living our lives than merely what only my own small ego can conceive. Today's understanding of liberty has produced indifference, and relativism has come in its wake. From this void, the modern gods of autonomy and equality wage a war between each other, and as we are seeing, equality is beginning to win out, even though it is the younger of these two modern gods. How's this so? From indifference to strive for a higher or nobler life, one loses sight of the significance of that noble life, and so it eventually sinks down in our subjective evaluation to becoming a life that is no different than any other way of life. When we are no longer sensitive to the differences or are blind to them, then relativism sets in, and only the ego can dominate. And when the ego dominates, only mediocrity can reign, as we see in our society today, especially in its artistic expressions. Meanwhile, absolutes and objectivity are cast aside, but truth is never conquered, only denied. But one can only deny the truth for so long, because it is eternal, and because it is eternal, it persists. There was a time when the notion of liberty did not equal to indifference and some defeated notion of mediocrity. Liberty at one point encouraged us to excellence, so that your free will can make the best choice, so your mind can think the best thoughts, and your heart can be in the right place. This is what the noble life was, and this life, not long ago, meant something significant, even worth laying down our own ego for. The idolatry of and struggle between autonomy and equality does not exist here, but are made harmonious in submission to a higher order, the order of charity and reality. There is harmony in this liberty for excellence, to make possible and then realize the highest good. There is sensitivity here, one as important as social and emotional awareness, but now on the moral and spiritual level. From this sensitivity, the absolute and objective cease to be a thing to resist and evade, but rather become the very springboard and foundation to our true freedom, to live on a whole higher level that goes beyond the unthinking impulses of our mediocre, egoic desires. The good we desire, whatever it may be, will always have its source in God. Freedom and equality are only our desire for justice to be realized in our lives, but only in God in living the life He had lined out for us and communicated to us through an unbroken chain of teaching handed down from age to age and embodied in your life by His grace, will be the key to obtaining any true measure of freedom and equality. As it stands now, our age is focused more on quantity, not quality. We are an age of mass-produced goods, with a high velocity of replacement. In a word, we are a low-quality, high-quantity throwaway society. It's infiltrated our varied sense of desire, and is in the background of every thought, even our thoughts about liberty and equality. Herein lies the conflict between these two false modern gods of our age. Absolute equality demands that all be allowed to do and have access to the same thing, even at the cost of another individual who is obstructing that access. Meanwhile, absolute autonomy demands that the individual be allowed to do the maximum number of actions without consequence from others. The seeds of one God's destruction are laid within itself. It's time to bring back these two gods from destroying society and those that claim to worship it. It's time to reharmonize and get back in touch with a more authentic sense of liberty. It's time to become actually closer to free.